everything is perfectly level right now, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this. Now, the curve is there, okay? It's hard to see on camera because you can't see the full view like I see, okay? But if we were even higher up, at a higher vantage point, the curve is more apparent, okay? Unfortunately, there's nothing around here except this roof of an apartment complex over there. I don't think they're going to let me on. I showed the curve of the earth. Went out to the ocean, I took my camera, and I panned it, and I put a perfectly straight line. You can see it rise, and you can lower. So there's some people that were saying, well, it's because of the fisheye of the camera. It's because of all this other stuff. I'm going to debunk that because that's retarded. So, here we go. Let's say that this is the curve that we saw at the ocean, okay? And this is what they say. Because of the lens being the way it is, that's the reason why we see a curve. Now, I might be almost willing to say, okay, a little bit we might see that, if the entire curve was in only one frame, like this, okay? I never moved the camera, all right? Then that might explain a little bit of distortion here, or maybe even here, okay? But that is not what happened. The camera would have a shot here. I would pan it. You would see it here. I would pan it. You would see it here. I would pan it. You would see it here, and whatnot. There is no lens in the world that would change the curve of the horizon depending on what direction I was aiming. There isn't one. You would see a distortion that would be constant throughout all of these. You would not see a rise on this, a flat, and then a drop. You would not see that. And I know some of you people out there are talking about, well, you know, the lens and all this other stuff and the distance you would have to be, and that video didn't make sense. Look, the video is what it is. It shows a curve of the earth. Period. All right? So that's the first thing. These people will do anything and everything to move the goalpost, which is a logical fallacy. You answer one of their questions, and you ask them one, and you say, well, answer this. They won't answer it, and what they do is they move the goalpost, or they'll use a red herring, or they'll do a character attack on you. Let's cover some things here that this could not answer, and there is no flat earther that can answer this. So we have a sphere that we live on. Let's say that video, my first video, where I show the curve of the earth at the ocean, that's not enough for you. It's retarded to think that somebody is faking that. It is the dumbest thing. At the end of the day, whether the planet is flat or it's a sphere, it does not change anything in your life, positively or negatively. So why lie? Why lie? It doesn't make any sense at all why there would be every country and every physicist and every geologist and every astronomer and everybody that basically has an IQ above 80, they would all be in on it. They'd all be in on this great lie. It's stupid. But anyway, look, we got our sphere here. This is the equator. This is west. This is east. The planet travels in this direction on its spin. This is the axis of it on which it spins. Think of it as like a globe sitting on top of a record player. And then this right here would be where the rod is, the pin or whatever of the record player. Traveling this direction, we have north up here and we have south up here. The reason why we call it north and south is because of the magnetic fields. And we're going to be getting into that here in a second. Okay? Counterclockwise direction. Counterclockwise meaning that it is traveling in the opposite direction that a clock travels. Derp! Okay? So we can say CC, counterclockwise. Now, first question for you flat earthers. You have to explain this, because it will not work in your model, but it's reality. Okay? We have things that we normal human beings like to call stars. And no matter where you are on the planet, you can pretty much see some stars at night if you look up, as long as the sky is clear. We can see stars. Okay? Now, if you are on the northern hemisphere and you look up, you will notice over a period of time that the stars appear to be traveling in a counterclockwise direction. Okay? Cool. Now, if you are on the southern hemisphere and you look up, it would appear as if the stars, over a period of time, would travel in a counterclockwise, in a clockwise direction. Explain how that could possibly happen on a flat Earth model. It only works on a sphere. It's impossible to happen on a flat Earth model. Okay? Simple test, doesn't require a telescope, doesn't require anything except some time and you laying on your back. Anyway, so explain that, fools. Let's also explain something that is called the moon. And the moon. We'll put this is the man on the moon, okay? And the man on the moon is happy because he knows that the Earth is a sphere. And if I'm over here, we're on the northern hemisphere, and we see the moon, we see him upright like this, okay? But if you're down here on the southern hemisphere, an interesting thing happens that only happens if you're on a sphere. They see the moon like this. It's inverted. It happens on a sphere model, but it does not happen on a flat Earth model. Flat Earthers explain that. You can't, okay? So, let's go ahead and talk about something real cool, man. You're going to like this. We're going to get a sphere. Now, we have a planet. North, south, okay, equator, west, east. If you were standing here and you look up, you will see stars. If you're standing here and you look up, you will see stars. If you stand here and you look up, you will see stars. You will see stars. And these stars encompass the entire sphere, right, of the Earth. When we look up, no matter where we are, we're going to see star formations. Okay? There are no breaks in it. Now, the stars that the person on the South Pole sees are different than the stars that the person on the North Pole sees. Okay? It's pretty much, it is the way it is. The person on the North Pole cannot see these. The person on the South Pole cannot see these. Okay? That's the very first thing. You have to explain, once again, flat Earth model, you have to explain it. But there's some stars that we do share. So, looking north, things like these. Things like these. And of course, this would wrap around 360. This would be like a belt right here, okay? And all the stars in these areas we could share, okay? We can share. But what's happening here on the South Pole and North Pole, completely different star formations. So now let's look at this in a flat Earth model and see if this is going to work, because it doesn't. This in and of itself destroys the flat Earth model. So we have a disk, and on this disk, right here is our North Pole, and right here is our South Pole. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, the South Pole is all the way around the planet. Whatever. Okay, it's stupid. But anyway, we have our continents in the middle here. Okay, and our continents, basically wrapping this way, is our east and our west. Okay. So we have star clusters that we can see, star formations in the north area that we cannot see in the southern. Now the southern has their own as well. Okay? Just simply by the circumference of this and the size of it, you should already be able to tell what's wrong with this model. Okay? West and east. Okay, let's say that these are the stars that we share, which is not actually very accurate. It's an impossibility. Because these stars on the outside of here can actually be seen by portions over here, right? Because it wraps around, okay? But what this suggests is if you're on this portion of the South Pole, you would see stars that this portion of the South Pole could not see. That's what it would suggest. You couldn't see them. Different stars. Same thing happens here. What you see here, you could not see over here, okay? This portion and this portion would share these stars. This portion and this portion would share that. They would share this, and they would share this. How is it possible if you're on the South Pole and you can see all of these different stars and they wrap around? How is it possible that the stars that are right here somehow wrap around and the person over here can see them? Not only that, but on the South Pole, the amount of stars that you could see would be astronomical compared to the size of what you could see here at the north. I mean, it's so stupid. The whole thing is so dumb. This in and of itself disproves a flat Earth. This in and of itself does. Just star formations. And we can keep track of them. We know what they are. We've seen them. The shapes of them. We know of the patterns, right? They wrap around. Okay? They wrap around. We can all see them. This would also suggest that there's some stars out here that it's just like there's stars out here that basically can never ever be seen. Like we couldn't get a full view of the universe 360. Like we couldn't possibly do it, right? There would always be a portion that you just simply couldn't see. Not from you'd have to be right here on the edge to look out in order to see these stars. Bull. The whole thing is a crock. Stars on this side could not magically wrap around and show up over here and wrap around and show up over here. It's impossible. On the South Pole or anywhere in the southern hemisphere, when you start getting closer to the South Pole, doesn't even have to be on the pole, but when you start getting closer, you can see all of these stars just in one location, right? According to this, you'd have to be in different spots to see them. Whole thing's bull.